The highly awaited UK budget has been revealed by Rachel Reeves. A question-answer session is currently underway at the House of Commons. But before Reeves could even announce the budget, controversy erupted after Office for Budget Responsibility accidentally published the forecast numbers ahead of the formal announcement. Now, according to protocol, OBR releases forecasts after budget has been announced. The organisation has blamed the prior release on a technical error. The forecasts have downgraded economic growth for UK over the next few years. For 2026, growth rate forecast has been decreased from 1.9% to 1.4%. The latest growth forecast till 2030 has been downgraded to 1.5%. British Finance Minister Rachel Reeves presented the budget amid heightened anxiety and sparring protests. In her remarks, Reeves said that the budget is in line with Labour Party's manifesto and will cut cost of living for Britons.
Today's budget builds on the choices that we have made since July last year. To cut NHS waiting lists, to cut the cost of living, and to cut debt and borrowing. No doubt we will face opposition again, but I have yet to see a credible or a fairer alternative plan for working people.
Here are some of the key takeaways from the budget announcement. Minimum wage will be increased by 4.1% from April 2026 onwards. New exercise duty will be levied on electronic vehicles. There is a temporary cut to petrol and diesel tax, which comes as a monetary or momentary respite. However, this provision will be short-lived. Reeves also said that she will abolish the two-child benefit cap as it has not yielded any results. The Finance Minister also announced mansion tax for homes that are worth more than £2 million. Tory leader Kimi Badenoch has slammed the budget announcement. The Conservative leader has called it, quote, budget littered with broken promises. Following the announcement, House of Commons is currently in session with the opposition leaders raising questions on forecast leak. Ahead of the Finance Minister's remarks, farmers took to the streets in London to protest. They lined up tractors to block Trafalgar Square, blaming the budget provisions for forcing farmers into bankruptcy. Our correspondent Stuart Smith is now joining us live from London. Smith, the budget has been read and has been announced. Are there protests still ongoing, and did Britain expect what Rachel Reeves presented in Parliament?
There are protests still ongoing from a variety of different groups. You mentioned the farmers, of course, which have made themselves known. Having said that, the agricultural policies and agricultural spending is not really at the heart of the controversy around this year's budget. There are other protesters from the left and the right of politics who believe that Rachel Reeves is making fundamental mistakes with this budget, but she says it's the fairest way to raise the much needed cash. £28 billion is the figure that she had to meet, and most of that, the vast majority of that, has come through increasing taxes, particularly income tax, which, while it's not being increased, the tax bands that people will fall into have been frozen, which means as salaries rise over the next few years, around 1.7 million people will be paying more tax or paying tax at all than are at the moment. So that's the big way Chancellor is raising money. There are other ways. You mentioned the mansion tax, a tax on homes worth over £2 million, charges on the electric vehicles, depending on how far they drive, and also other smaller taxes to try and fill that black hole. But there were also announcements for new spending, more on welfare. For example, removing a cap on the number of children that you can have on universal credit for the poorest in British society, and still receive money. That used to mean that people were limited to 2 children. That cap has now been removed, which means as many children as a family has will receive those extra funds. That has been welcomed by people in the UK who are worried about poverty, and especially poverty amongst children. So it's a mixed bag of huge increases in tax, but also some new spending as well.
Smith, The opposition or the Conservative Party has dismissed this budget. Kimi Badenoch says that this budget is not constructive. I understand there are discussions or questions at the House of Commons. What usually happens at the House of Commons?
Yeah, so right now the Chancellor has given her speech unprecedentedly, as you mentioned. Most people knew what was going to be in that speech beforehand, not just through the 3 months of leaks and speculation, but then around an hour before the Chancellor was due to speak, that Office for Budget Responsibility forecast being published online by accident, according to the group. A technical error, they say, that will be investigated. But what happens now is there will be days of debate about the budget. So you've mentioned already the leader of the opposition Conservative Party is letting her feelings known. She's already called for the Chancellor to resign and says this represents the budget that has just been announced, a breach of the promise made by the Labour government not to increase taxes on working people. But many lawmakers will have a chance to put their views forwards. Of course, Labour backbenchers as well, those not in government, will also have their chance to make their feelings known, and it may not be positive for the government despite them being in their own party. So that debate continues for a few days, and then over that time, once the debate has finished, the bill will be voted upon. But at this point, with the Labour majority so large in Parliament, that really is a technicality, but then it will be implemented in law in Parliament behind me over the next week.
All right, live from London, Stuart Smith. We'll have to leave it there. Thank you.